Bellman's coming right up with the bags.
All right, then. Oh my God. Zion, welcome to the family. Let's dance. I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna make that like global. Wow, passing the torch. Are you ready to take that on? City of New Orleans.
With the first pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson from Duke University.
Zion, I think you'll be the greatest player ever, especially coming to New Orleans. I think you could do some great things. You remind me of Shaq dominance running up the floor.
Oh, what a play!
Well, Zion, you sort of remind me of Blake Griffin in terms of just the explosion, the power. Physicality, of course, is sort of dominant that you don't normally see in today's game.
Thank you, Drew Brees. It's a nice gift. Sheesh.
I sent you that jersey because I believe that you can be a great leader in this community. And I was always told when I came to New Orleans that if you love New Orleans, it'll love you back.
Drew Brees is always thinking about New Orleans, the championship that he brought to the city. Sort of almost like similarly giving you a torch. I wouldn't say passing it down, but just giving you the torch to say, hey, when you light a fire into the city loves it. It turns up. It's a situation.
Zion, to tell you, New Orleans is a special place. I've traveled all over the world and I've never experienced any other city like that. The people are great. Everyone loves each other. The music is fantastic. The food is great.
New Orleans is different than any place you've probably ever been. It is on its own time schedule. It's relaxed, it's casual, it's fun. There's a reason it's called the Big Easy.
The best prospect that we've seen since LeBron. I mean, what's not to be happy about?
Is there anything that you'd like to say to your new team and family in New Orleans?
Let's dance.
When you say let's dance, that means to me let's get the party started and we going all the way to the end. And that's what we do in New Orleans. You can catch people outside dancing with no music sometimes. That's how important dancing is. So I'm ready to dance with you. Let's make it happen.
You know what Let's Dance means. We're here for every game. We're here for playoffs. We're here to win, the same mentality we have on the football field. We're here to win the big dance. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the championship.
There it is. Ball throws it up. Williamson lays it down.
You have an incredible opportunity to be a part of the beginning of something great and creating the foundation by which you can have a long, successful career here.
Williamson inside and lays it up and in.
We have this great city to represent no matter where we go and play. If that's me in Europe or if that's you somewhere in New York, when you wear that Pelicans jersey, you're representing more than just basketball. It's a city of love, heart, and soul.
The city is looking for that electricity that you brought to Duke, the electricity you brought out of high school. It's that passion and that love that you have for the game that shows each and every time you take court.
Robinson tapped it out to Knox. Zion rips it. Punches it home.
My expectations of you to be a legendary Hall of Famer that likes we've never seen before. Too much pressure? All right, cool. When you bring a title to the city will love you back like you've never heard of.
I say it all the time, New Orleans is the best city in America. I did love the fan in that piece who said New Orleans runs on its own time. Things have never been truer. And Drew Brees' commitment to that city, obviously he was there in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, that amazing Monday Night Football game, and of course bringing them the Super Bowl years later. To have him say to Zion Williamson, you're going to be my partner in this, it's so meaningful. And the Pelicans, of course, now not that far off from the number 8 seed, only 3.5 games back. So all of that excitement that you saw in that piece from fans, you could see some of that playoff excitement this year. And I mentioned at the top of the show, Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the Pelicans have made it clear they're pulling back from any trade talks. They're going to use this team and go for it if things stay the way they've been these last few weeks.
In fact, I've heard that in the talks that they've had, they've been looking to acquire players. Like, maybe not a big-time player, but like if they're going to add something, maybe add a veteran.
Right.
Because they are a really young team. And that's why I can't, even though their schedule's favorable, I can't quite, without having seen Zion, bring myself to say they're going to do it because they are so young. They have experienced guys, but you'd be relying on guys who'd never been there before. So I can't quite get myself to say they're.
I like what Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball have been doing lately.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think they have a great chance of making the playoffs if Zion can continue to stay healthy. The reason being is these guys have been playing, I think Ingram and Lonzo having a breakout year. And you have J.J. Redick, who's a sniper on this team. You add somebody like Zion, who I think could be a 20-point scorer. Like, you adding another 20-point scorer. So you got Drew Holiday, who's averaging 20. You have Ingram, who's averaging 25. Lonzo is putting up nice numbers this year. And you add a 20-point scorer. Absolutely, they can make the playoffs this year with him being healthy.
But there's a bunch of teams around them that could potentially add pieces as well.
Right.
Portland, potentially getting some good news. I'd like to see where everybody is in about 3-4 weeks. I know that the question's being asked today.
They don't have the question's being asked today because they don't have 3-4 weeks to the trade deadline.
Right, but
so
I want to see where
are you
everything
going for
happens.
it or not.
Right.
I want to see what happens at the deadline, and I want to see how Zion looks for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
I'm not worried about how he's going to look. I am worried about, like, what other teams would do in terms of the pieces that they add to their roster. That could potentially, hurt a team like New Orleans. So we'll see.
We'll see. I was just trying to look up J.J. Redick's quote to Zion at the beginning of the season. Don't mess up my playoff streak.
13 seasons.
J.J. has made the playoffs every season, and he would like that to continue. Up next, which team is the better bet to win the East? The Sixers or the Rockets will not be winning the East. Raptors. They are facing off tonight. The answer is between the Sixers and Rockets, it's definitely the Sixers has the better chance to win the East. But the Raptors, they're on deck tonight. We'll talk about that. It's time for our second distant replay of the day. This date, 2010, Derrick Rose.
Oh, my goodness.
We got ahead of the
Oh.
And Derrick Rose brings down the Thunder with a two-hand jam.
What, Dragic?
Yep.
Young Dragic?
Yep.
He didn't know. He didn't know. Oh, my.
He's trying to play defense.
There goes that.
There goes the bench.
I missed that kid.
Look at that sneer. That's Chicago right there. Crunch time here on The Jump. Kobe Bryant was asked by CNN if a woman could someday play in the NBA. He said, quote, there are a couple players who could play in the NBA right now. He named Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Elena Delle Donne as examples. Now, T-Mac, Kobe has 4 daughters. He has no sons. Is he just trying to get Gigi in the league here? Come on.
Yeah, he is. I do appreciate Kobe naming those 4 guys because they can hoop. But I just like, I like to see them playing against other women and making the WNBA what it is today and continue to make the progression on that league.
That's exactly right. The comparison just doesn't have to be to men all the time.
Yeah.
It could be about the league that it is.
That league is on a good run.
It's on, absolutely on the come up. All right, the Mavs lost big man Dwight Powell to a season-ending Achilles injury last night. This was hard to watch. And Trace, you could tell right away, right? They confirmed it that it's a full rupture, but you could see it.
Yeah, I've seen too many of these injuries, and, when it's non-contact, you already know. It's either ACL or it's an Achilles, and you just hate to see that.
Unfortunately, this had the same Durant where you could see it on his leg.
All right, so what did the Mavs do? Because he was such a key
the Mavericks have been out there looking for different types of players. They have trade assets. Because Porzingis has been unreliable health-wise this year, they may now have to examine the market for a big man.
Look, this is a little bit what we expected from Porzingis, right? I mean, the first year back from a 20-month layoff, like Paul George, like Gordon Hayward, that's what you're going to get from him.
He's got knee soreness, so I'm worried about that.
We'll see what happens with Yusuf Nurkic because Damian Lillard telling reporters that Nurk took part in full practice today. And again, he's another one where I would say don't get too excited because we don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back. But still, he is such an emotional part of that team. What would that mean to the Blazers?
That'll mean a lot if he can play some consistent minutes. I mean, he's going to help Dame and Melo and CJ and those boys because they really need help in that interior with Collins being out, Whiteside really being the only big they have. So I'm sure.
A little dig at Russell Westbrook on that shirt, if you don't remember.
They've been waiting for this for a long time because once Zach Collins went down, they were so depleted in the front court. This is their big move. Their big move is getting Nurkic. And this is why I don't know about the Pelicans. Because with Nurkic coming back, that changes the game there.
Hey, look, look, the Arizona Cardinals receiver extraordinaire, Larry Fitzgerald, has bought a minority stake in the Phoenix Suns. He is now the second active NFL player with an NBA ownership share. Of course, Aaron Rodgers has a stake in the Bucks. You like this, Tracy?
I love seeing athletes getting some stake in franchises, but I also love seeing black athletes getting stake in franchises. So, yeah, kudos.
There's only a handful of former players who have had stakes in teams, which is surprising, but Robert Sarver has been leaning on Larry Fitzgerald the last couple of years.
Give me some money.
Possibly to help him increase his Q rating in Phoenix.
As I say, there is no one more popular in that state than Larry Fitzgerald.
And I think that's a smart move. I think this is not just a smart move for Larry, it's a smart move for Robert Sarver.
Right. Also says something that the NFL players that we just mentioned investing in NBA teams. Just saying. Back to the East, where there are some surprises in the standings. Tonight on ESPN, the Raptors hosting the Sixers, 7 o'clock Eastern. And a surprise for some, the Raptors lead the Sixers in the standings, not the people of Toronto. Going into tonight's matchup, the Raptors are holding the 3rd seed while the Sixers are in the 5th seed. There's only one game, actually, between them, Brian. Who do you think is a better bet? If you had to say one of these teams is coming out of the East, which one would you bet on?
Philly has more talent, and you would say that in a series you would favor Philly. That said, the Raptors have been so good this year, despite having a lot of injuries of their own. And you know, if I was Toronto or Miami, I would be wondering, is there a move out there that I could make that could elevate my chances? I think Denver is in this position in the West because I think the two LA teams will be better next year than they are now.
Right.
And I think in the East, Toronto and Miami have.
They're looking at the Sixers and saying, well,
the Sixers just aren't at the top of their game, and the Bucks are going to be a tall order. But if you can fight, if you can get to the conference finals and give yourself a fighting chance against the Bucks, so. I'll tell you what, I think the Raptors play with a lot of confidence, and they're going to be a hard out no matter when they go.
Here's what I'll say. I like Philly because of the depth they have, the talent that they have, but I don't know what their identity is.
They don't know. You can't know because they don't know.
Right. So, I mean, for the Raptors, they know who they are. That's why they are playing great basketball. They trust one another. I mean, after losing Kawhi Leonard, they still are holding it down in the Eastern Conference. Other guys have stepped up, Siakam and you know, some of these young guys, but I just don't really trust them in the playoffs.
Tell you what, if they were playing in a playoff series right now, I would probably pick the Sixers, but I would bet on the Raptors because
I feel the same way.
Because the odds where you get good odds,
get good odds, right?
I think they'd have a really good shot.
Well, look, the Raptors, the fact we've never seen a Finals MVP leave his team before, so there's no precedent for what Kawhi did. But the fact that he was only there for a year, to me, made the Raptors more able to bounce back from him leaving. They're like, hey, we were good without you.
Yeah.
We made the Eastern Conference Finals without you. We've done other things without you, so they could bounce back. The question when you're talking about which other teams might be able to win the East always comes down to who can play Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks hard. That's it, because they are going to be there. The Bucks are going to be there. And so you have to then lean toward the team that has the size to deal with him. If they can figure out what they are doing when they play on the court together and who's going to shoot shots. If those things can happen, especially in the latter half of the fourth quarter, they would have, to me, the best shot at it, but we'll have to see. I want to get to our League Pass game of the night. Lots of good picks on the slate today. This is a good night, but look, we got that ESPN doubleheader. Again, you may have heard Zion's playing, but our pick for League Pass is Nuggets at Rockets. The Rockets have been struggling, especially defensively. They gave up 41 fourth-quarter points Monday against the Thunder, losing their 4th straight game. You know Chris Paul was having fun that night.
That was a good flight that night.
What do you think, Tracy, is the key to the Rockets avoiding their 5th straight loss?
Well, James can't go 1 for 17 from 3 again.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, you can't do that. But I just think they have to be locked down defensively. Like, if it's not working on the offensive end, if James is going to struggle, or if Westbrook going to struggle, or their shooter's going to struggle, like, lock down on the defensive end. Denver is going to score, right? So you're going to have to concentrate on slowing down Jokic, who's a big problem, and then their guard play. I mean, they come into play. They play hard. They're getting a wounded Rockets team, so they're going to have to do a little extra tonight. We'll see.
This slump that Harden is in is pretty crazy. I don't think it'll last, obviously. The Rockets, frankly, aren't good enough to not play good transition D. They're not good enough to turn the ball over like they do. They're not good enough to give up offensive rebounds. In short, they got to tighten up. Tighten up, boys, because they're leaking.
Just sloppy stuff.
They're just
all
sloppy
the way around.
play.
Well, that's what's led people to question sort of what the mentality of the locker room is right now. Is this team going to stay together and hold the rope? Because it feels like there's a little teeter going on, and we'll see. And look, they could pull themselves out of it and be right there in the Western Conference Finals. We will find out. This just in at the buzzer. According to The Athletic and the Associated Press, Derek Jones Jr. has accepted an invitation to the dunk contest in Chicago.
So, we have Dwight Howard.
Yep.
We have Derek Jones. All we need is Aaron and Zach, and we're going to have an amazing Saturday night.
I'm holding Aaron Gordon to what he said on this show.
And Zach, it's in Chicago. You play for the Bulls. It's only going to help your popularity. I mean, I'm talking about.
Speaking of making bets,
get back in it, brother.
Make a bet on Derek Jones Jr. for this
airplane mode, man.
This guy can explode off the ground.
So much fun. He could
it's
actually
not about
jump
how
over
high
the
you can
Sears
jump. You got to
Tower.
have some creativity, though.
All right.
There you go.
I'll take
Thanks
that.
to these guys for joining me. Tomorrow, we're unveiling the McDonald's All-American.